Welcome to the Sam and Joe VA Show, where we teach women just like you how to start and scale a thriving virtual assistant business.
We're your hosts, Sam and Joe, and get ready to have the control, flexibility, and freedom you've always dreamed of.
Welcome to episode 132, Stand Your Ground or Compromise.
Such an interesting topic for us to cover. We provide, how much advice do we provide? Not only in the podcast, but also just when we're talking to virtual assistants on a daily basis. And the advice that we provide is general best practice business advice, specifically for virtual assistants. However, it's not a cookie cutter industry. Everybody's business model is a bit different. Everybody has different responsibilities, financial obligations. They've got different niches. They've got different ideal clients. So sometimes the advice we provide, there needs to be a little bit of leeway there, doesn't there, Joe?
Yes, especially with where you are on your journey too. That comes into play big time when you're thinking about am I going to do exactly what Sam and Joe suggest and not compromise on this and I'm going to stand my ground? Or do you actually need to think about where am I at on my journey right now? And what does saying no or yes to this potential client or this situation actually mean in real terms for me right now?
Yeah, especially if you were comparing a virtual assistant that really needs the clients, they need to be bringing the money in order to be paying the bills, compared to a virtual assistant that's been around the block for a while and has got all the clients or the majority of the clients that they need.
Yeah, completely different situations. So as you're listening, we really want you to think about, where am I in my journey in business? And what would I compromise on? And what would I be like, nope, I'm going to stand my ground. And we're going to go through a bunch of scenarios and situations that we've seen virtual assistants be in. And it's going to be up to you to figure out where's your lines? Where are you going to draw the line?
Yeah, very personal decision. I mean, negotiation in business. This negotiation is a skill that I would say all business owners need to know and practice. So negotiating your contracts and all of these things that we're going to talk about, it's very, very normal.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you've touched on a really great point here. Lots of things in business are about it being a negotiation. Don't think about it being really black and white. There are absolutely gray areas in business, and it's got to be right for you.
I mean, there's gray areas in life, Joe.
No. Can't we have our black and white lives where things are just so consistent? No, that would be boring.
It would make it easier. It would make it easy. It would make it
Hella
easy.
boring.
Yeah. Oh, so boring. So boring. All right. Let's start with the biggie, pricing. In terms of pricing, when do you want to be standing your ground and when do you want to be negotiating and compromising?
And because we teach to have your pricing, don't discount, don't negotiate. This is your rate, take it or leave it. Now that's best practice advice, right? There are times where your financial situation and obligations may mean that you do compromise on your pricing and your rates. And that actually pains me to say that, but sometimes
see it pains you.
It's I would never discount now. Early on in the journey, it might be right for you to discount because you've gone to a point where you're almost at the point where you have to give up because of your financial obligations. And this would help you keep going and get started.
Yeah.
That would be my very small option. What do you reckon?
it goes against everything in us to be having this conversation about discounting, doesn't it? But I absolutely agree. If you are at the point where you're days or weeks away from having to apply for a job at the supermarket or back in an office or whatever it is, but you're getting leads and people are saying, hey, I want you to work with me, but can we do it at this rate? You've got to ask yourself, what do I want more? What do I want more right now? And if giving a discount means your dream of being your own boss and that freedom and flexibility is still alive, yeah, discount. However, I'd be really wary about how much you're discounting.
I love that we're just about to like throw out all the caveats now. However,
there's going to be so many buts in this conversation. But just be wary of how much you're discounting. Once again, there's going to be virtual assistants listening and they're going, well, how much? How much is the right amount to be discounting? I mean, it just depends on your circumstance. It really does. I don't even know what hourly rate, because I'm imagining you probably have an hourly rate, even though it's not best practice. We don't even know what your hourly rate is. So we can't give you a solid answer on that. It's
still going to be viable, right? It's still going to be viable for you. You don't want to be getting down to minimum wage again. Like, it's got to be viable.
Yeah. Oh, that was
painful.
I didn't think that would be as hard a conversation to have as it was.
Yeah.
Like like literally, I think I've got the shakes in my head. Like it went against everything inside us.
I agree. Let's talk about some of the like payment terms in and around bringing on a new client, because there are clients who will say, I don't really want to work. I don't really want to pay in advance. I don't know if you're going to do a good job or not. Or I don't really want to pay by direct debit. I don't set those up. I don't like that. I like to have the control.
We actually had an instance. I can't remember where we heard the story, but a new lead was actually questioning the legality here in New Zealand of being asked to be paid in advance.
Like, I think it was in the members club. One of our members.
Yeah, I think it
was very confused and thinking, oh, am I doing something wrong here? Billing in advance. So we reassured her that no, it's completely legal. That client was just trying it on. They were trying all the ones.
Yeah. But what's your views on that, on payments in advance? If the lead was like, oh, but our payment runs, payroll and HR and all that, they do it on the 20th of the month.
Yeah. Look, there are some types of organizations, I'm going to say like corporate, government kind of organizations, who are going to have a very fixed process for how they deal with their suppliers. It's essentially what you are, a supplier to them. So there might be times where you're like, okay, they are not going to compromise on advance billing, direct debit, and paying on the 7th. They want to pay on the 20th of the following month. So again, it's weighing it up. What do I want more? Do I want this client to be on board and doing those hours? Or do I want all of my clients always to be paying upfront, in advance, and by direct debit? What do you want more? And it's going to be a personal decision again. It is something that you could absolutely try and negotiate on and say, this is the terms, this is how I'd want it to go. If there's no budging, it's up to you. Are you going to compromise on those things? And in my business, we have 1 to 2 clients at any one time that are on different payment terms because of the type of organization that they are.
Yeah, I've compromised on that before for the exact same reason. It's normally been a larger organization, where you just know it's actually, there's going to be no budging from their end. But I wanted to work with them, so I was very happy for them and them alone to pay me on a different date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
One thing I would not compromise on, like this is where I'd be standing my ground, is when it comes to project work. If a new lead was reluctant to pay a deposit, no, I would be standing my ground on that.
100% agree. Even if it was a large organization or a corporate or something. Absolutely. A deposit before you start the project, because if they are reluctant to do that, that's signaling to me a red flag is flying.
Yeah.
Very high.
Very, very high. Yeah.
Because if they can't pay then, how are they going to pay later?
Yeah. That's a massive red flag. Yeah. Would not compromise on that. Is there anything else around pricing and payment terms?
I think pricing and payment terms are all negotiable. They're all something that you could negotiate on. That deposit before starting the work,
yeah, that would be the
stand your ground on that.
definitely.
And it's a deposit, remember, it's not asking for the full amount all up front. It's a deposit. It could be a 30%, 50% deposit. So they shouldn't have a problem with that. It's very best practice, normal practice in kind of creative type agencies and services projects. It's very common.
I've always asked for a 50% deposit. I've never had anyone question that. I don't know. I wonder if anyone else has had leads potentially not questioning the need to pay a deposit, but maybe the amount, the percentage. I wonder if that ever happens. Like someone saying, happy to pay a deposit, but how does 30% sound instead of 50? Do you think that ever happens?
Potentially. That could potentially happen. Like if 50% was just maybe you're like a new business, not that much reputation, a little like hesitancy around the trust, then, a new client could say, well, how could we do a 25 and maybe or a 30, 30, 30. There's like something in the middle and something at the end, just to give them a little more comfort. So that could be a reasonable request if you were new.
And I think negotiating that extra middle payment. So rather than just 25 or 30 up front and then the rest at the end, like having a start, middle, and end rather than just the two for sure.
Like let's wrap that kind of point up, the pricing and payment terms, with if you were established, you're an agency, you had plenty of clients, like please don't negotiate on price or your payment terms.
Oh, no.
like this is depending on your financial situation and what you need right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Once again, there's so many buts.
I just felt like I really needed to say that at the end.
Yeah, I think we did kind of start the conversation, but that's an absolute really good reminder. Yeah. Okay, it leads on really well to something that we get. We hear this a lot, especially once again those virtual assistants that are just starting out. Leads wanting freebies because it's a great opportunity or it's a great way for you to get some experience under your belt because you don't have any client testimonials.
And I think there are plenty of people out there who like to take advantage of brand new virtual assistants.
Oh, yeah.
Again, one of our members, she was brand new, didn't have any clients yet. And she was like, all these people are coming to me, asking me to do things for free. What's going on? Why are they asking me this? And so we had a look and it was around the language that she was using and saying that she's a new virtual assistant, and people take advantage of that. So be very wary of people who are asking for free work to be done in exchange for you can get some experience and I can give you a testimonial. Be wary of that and take note of whether you think they might be trying to take advantage or whether this will actually be of benefit to you. Because there are times where you could do work for free when you're first starting. It's just we have some caveats around that.
We have so many. Like you want to have boundaries around how long this work is that you're going to provide for free. You don't want to get stuck in this unhealthy situation where whoever you're providing this free work to expects it to continue. You want to negotiate, hey, I'll do this as a freebie. However, then after that, let's put you on a service plan, and we'll look at how we're going to work together ongoing if we feel like we're the right fit.
Yep. And you must agree up front that you're going to get a review or testimonial. That's important. Like, that's why you're doing it.
Yes. Once again, as Jo said just before, if you're an established virtual assistant, you've been doing it for a while, you don't need to be giving out freebies.
No.
So
not unless you want to do, like Sam, you used to do or still do a once a year one organization, not for profit, that you would do something for as your like your kind of charity work.
Yeah. I mean, it's really good to give back to the community, but it has to be done, I feel, in a meaningful way. So I would much prefer to be reaching out. Like if I saw somebody and I thought, oh, wow, I could really help them, and I believe in what it is that they're doing, I'd much prefer to reach out to them and offer it rather than some rando giving me a call wanting something for free that I've just gone, okay, like that makes no sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right, let's have a chat about let's say that you have decided you are going to offer service plans only. So someone has to choose one of your service plans. Now, what do you think about someone who comes along and says, oh, I'm not ready for a service plan, but would you do some casual work, some ad hoc hours for me?
Yeah. This, once again, it's something that we hear quite frequently. And it happens, and I think virtual assistants it gets in their head and they start overthinking this because we put so much importance on moving from hourly rates and ad hoc casual here or there and everywhere type of work to larger service plans, because long term that is better for your business. However, I have frequently, if there is a lead that I've been talking to that I really want to work with, I feel like that they're a right fit. And especially those leads that perhaps haven't outsourced before, so they're quite new to dealing with a virtual assistant. They're a little bit nervous. They kind of just want to test the waters again. I've absolutely offered them, hey, let's do this trial period, ad hoc casual rate, and then we will sit down in a month's time and we'll review, see how it went for us both. And then we could talk about how we're going to move on forward longer term.
So I think that's the really important part. Like if you don't offer the ad hoc casual services, how Sam, you've said that it's like, this is how it's going to work, setting that expectation up front. I'll do this, then we're going to have a conversation in a month's time. So it could be a good kind of pathway to get someone to a service plan kind of point with you. So if you think about it in those terms, so someone comes to you, it's okay, what could be the long-term benefit of me making a short-term compromise right now?
Yeah.
That's how you could look at it.
Yeah, sometimes some clients need a little bit longer to build that trust. So doing casual ad hoc hourly rates for just a matter of weeks, if that is going to build that trust with this client, to me, that's a no-brainer. I'd definitely compromise on that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't start advertising a casual ad hoc hourly rate or service. That's just up to you to figure out, oh, maybe this client needs me to bring this up as an option.
Yes. Great advice. All right. Next, we want to have a chat about someone who might inquire and they are not your ideal client. You stand your ground and say no, or are you going to compromise?
Yeah. Gosh, I tell you what, gray areas are icky, aren't they? They really are.
That's so great.
Gray areas are murky. Okay. If somebody approached me and they weren't somebody that I would normally work for, definitely didn't fit my ideal client avatar, I guess. If I had a really good feel for them and I thought, oh, you know what? I think they're, personality and work-wise, it's still a really good fit. And if the work itself really caught my attention and I got that kind of tingly, this is exciting, this would be a cool project to work on, I'd absolutely compromise on that.
Because it feels like there's 2 out of 3 things that are a fit, right? So the personality, like the person that you'd work with is a fit. The work that you'd be doing is a fit, but maybe the industry is not a fit.
Yeah.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Something that you could definitely compromise on if you wanted to. Again, in business, the cool thing is we get to decide and make all of the choices. A little bit scary sometimes, but we have that option to say yes and no to whatever we like.
Yeah, and I think we need to be open to things as well, like open to new possibilities and different opportunities. So long as you've got that 2 out of 3, you know what I mean? Like you're ticking more boxes than you are crossing. There's more green flags than there are red flags.
Yes.
It's that balance. Like I probably, if I hadn't have, early on opened myself up to allowing some new opportunities to come my way, I probably wouldn't have ended up where I am now.
Exactly. So if we always think like, oh no, it needs to be the perfect client. Well,
they don't exist, Jo. Does a perfect client actually exist?
I was just going to say it doesn't exist.
Oh, sorry.
If we're always thinking like, oh, we want the perfect business, we want the perfect client, we want everything to be perfect, the perfect services, that's not possible. It's completely unrealistic. So like 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I quite like that saying.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
It's not going to be perfect. So whatever's right for you and your situation, your journey, what might be the long-term gain, the long-term benefit. Think of all those things.
The thing that I wouldn't compromise in that situation would be the type of work I was carrying out.
Yes.
So if it was something that I had no experience, no skills, no interest in, something that didn't fill me with joy, absolutely no, thanks.
Agreed. So let's say that if 2 things, the personality and the industry is right, but the services aren't, the services is the part where you're going to have the most kind of resistance, frustration with. So that is something that you very carefully think about whether you're going to compromise on that, because you don't want to be learning a whole new thing and not enjoying the work. The work and the services is important.
Okay, so here's one. Let's get mucky again. What if the client personality wasn't there? And in terms of the service, you've got the skills and experience in, but you don't like doing it. Like you really don't like doing it. But you need the work because you're a matter of weeks away from having to throw in the towel.
Oh, far out, Sam.
I told you grey is mucky and it's murky.
It is murky. Okay. Almost about to throw it in and still want to have this as my dream, I would say yes.
Yeah.
Capable, can do the work, don't like it, because then you've got some breathing space to then seek out a better fit client.
Yes.
And you can say goodbye to the client that doesn't fit.
Yeah, you don't have to be working with them forever.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, here's one for you. I haven't experienced this, so this is fully for you, Jo Jensen. If you are an agency owner who is trying to or in the process of stepping away from client work, or maybe has already stepped away from client work, would you ever compromise on that if there was ever a client, a new lead saying, I just want you, Jo Jensen?
I would never compromise on that now.
But you would have earlier on?
I would have before I learned my lesson and made the commitment or understood the implications of doing that. I would have said yes back then. Now, I would not say yes to that because I know the implications of saying yes to that means that I'm setting my business back and it's not going to have the growth that I want for it. It's going to hold the business back, which is such a weird concept to grasp, right? How is it, Joe, that not doing the work is going to be better than doing the work and bringing that money in? It's crazy, but yeah.
Okay.
Because you're saying yes to that, you're saying no to propelling your business forward, spending time on revenue generating activities, creating a better business.
What if what if you were a virtual assistant that was in the process of stepping back and one of your existing clients was really fighting being handed over to a team member?
There is always a way to get a client to move over to another team member, and it is a sales job.
Mm.
If they're reluctant, it's because you haven't sold the benefits to them well enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there is absolute benefits for them not to be with the business owner and to be with another team member. I could go on for days about all the benefits of why it's not a good idea to still work with me. I'm a shit virtual assistant now.
I am too.
Because I would not be responsive. My headspace wouldn't be in it, and like I just don't want to do the work. So I'm never going to do a great job. So when you're in that situation, you're moving clients over, you've got that same thing. You're not in that headspace anymore. You're not going to do a great job. You're going to have all of these other priorities and things coming at you. You're not going to be as responsive. So it's about you selling that.
Yeah.
And the reasons why, and saying I'm going to be like not a great fit for you anymore. My team member is going to be much better, and it's about getting them to move over. So I don't believe that a client should be hanging on to you and refusing. It's because it's on you. You haven't done a sales job on them.
Okay, so I've got one final scenario just to see if I can get you off that. No, definitely don't compromise on this pedestal, that footstool that you're on right now. What if you're an agency owner who's got some team members, but not as big a team as you do? Because you've got quite a big team. So you've got lots of resources that you could, in order to move stuff around. In terms of if another team member suddenly leaves for whatever reason or is sick or something like that, and there's like, where does that client work then go to?
If you had no other options, and if you couldn't bring someone on quick enough, then that would be something that I would compromise on to carry them through that situation with very clear expectations and a very short time frame, because you're going to put all your energy into bringing on someone who can take them over. Yeah. And there's another situation where I would do some client work, and that is kind of little bits and pieces, or a quick help someone with something because they're not sure how to do it and only you know how to do it. You do like a 30-minute, 15-minute, hour here and there to help do a really quality job and the client to remain happy. That's something that I would definitely compromise on. Not an ongoing service plan client. It's going to hold you back.
Going to hold you back. What a great conversation. Right. Should we talk about tools next? Not tools. Talk about learning. Learning and when to on charge that learning time to a client and when not to. Because if you've listened to any of our advice in these podcast episodes, you'll know that we're very aware of how you spend your time and that you really want to be able to bill it onto the client as much as possible, right? Non-billable work. I mean, you're just not earning money with non-billable work.
Yeah. So not non-billable administration work. That's the stuff that you don't want to be doing. The billable work, absolutely. You want to be doing as much billable work as you can when you're first starting out, or your team. You want them to be doing that billable work and maximizing as much of their time to be on charge to clients as possible. There is this murky waters where, like, maybe we'll give some scenarios, because there are just endless scenarios about when this could come up. So let's say that you offer like a streamlining service. Let's say you're using, like, tools is easy for me. So let's say you're using like a tool like Zapier. And there's something new that you need to now do inside Zapier that you should know. because you're an expert in streamlining. So it's something that you could then also use for other clients and ongoing for your kind of service offering that you have. That learning, I would be doing that on my own time, non-billable, because it's kind of an expectation you come as an expert that you would then know how to do everything in the tool that you're specifically using.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. There's been instances where I've done some learning where I haven't charged the client for the time for that reason alone. It is going to benefit me personally. It's benefiting my business. It's benefiting a range of clients, not just one client in particular, and my future clients.
Yeah.
So then that's on me. However, I've also done learning and training that I have charged the client for that time. And that's generally around, it's something that is very specific to that client that they want me to learn that is only going to benefit them.
Yeah. And you touched on something there. You had the conversation with the client and agreed it up front. That's the important part. Yeah.
You have to. Don't assume. Don't assume that you are both on the same page around stuff like this, because I bet you're not.
Yeah. And let's talk about too, like if you are doing like a fixed fee project for someone, which we hope that you are doing as many kind of fixed fee things as possible, build this into the bill, into the quote that you create. So know and understand that learning is always, there's going to be a component of learning in each kind of project that you do. So make sure that you have some time in there for you to do this learning. So you're not on charging it to the client, but you are covering some of that time with your margin that you have inside your project fixed fee.
Yeah.
So then you are billing it essentially.
Good advice. Staying along that project place that we're in right now, we obviously, when it comes to fixed fee projects, advise to be very specific in your proposal and your contract what that fixed fee in that project is going to include. Like super specific to the point that you're treating them like a child in terms of what they get and what they don't get. And one thing in particular we advise is around amendments. If you're working on a particular project, that the back and forth, the drafts, the amendments, the fixing and stuff like that, being really clear about how many they're going to get for that fee that they're paying you. However, sometimes in a very small amount of times, you're going to need to compromise on that. But not very often.
Not very often. So you might be like, oh, how do I figure out, like, if there's like 50 amendments, like, do I write 50 amendments in there? So what you think about is the round. So how many back and forth rounds of amendments? Sometimes you call them iterations. How many iterations are there? That means the rounds. Just in case anyone was like, holy heck, I'm going to have to write 50 amendments down on my list and keep track of them. No, it's the rounds. But yes, this is very important to make sure that you are not doing all of this, like double the work, because you're doing like back and forwards and it blows the budget completely out.
Scope creep.
Scope creep. Yes, we've done a great episode on that. So if you do projects, you need to listen to the scope creep podcast episode.
So the time that I think there's only one instance where I would compromise on this, and that's if I had stuffed it up. Because you know, especially with creative projects, it's actually if you haven't spent the time to really get to know that client's likes and dislikes, if you haven't spent that kind of pre-project time trying to get into their head as much as possible, really pulling out what they want from that project, what they think that the final look is going to be, it's easy to get it wrong. It's easy to get it wrong. Sometimes it's easy not to listen. It's sometimes if you're really busy working on another project for somebody else, maybe your comms with this current client hasn't been as great as it should be, and you've stuffed up, and what you've given them is just like completely wrong. It's not what they expected at all. Yeah. In that case, I would compromise and go, you know what? That is on me.
Yeah, some assumptions, some preconceived ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not listening.
And sometimes ego can kind of slip in with creative projects in particular.
Because you think you know what they should want.
Yeah. I mean, those creative VAs listening will have all dealt with a client at some point in their career who what they want doesn't necessarily fit into your idea of good design practice.
I've seen a lot of memes about that.
Yeah. So where do you? I mean, that's sometimes really hard to. They're the worst clients for creative virtual assistants.
Yeah. So I think the important thing to stop the need to compromise here on like the extra work and the iterations is that time spent up front will stop the need to have this negotiation at the end in your mind with yourself, with your client.
Yeah. So just take a good hard look at the situation, and you've got to be really honest with yourself. Is this particular thing on me? And if it is, well, then give them an extra round of amendments.
Yeah. Did that pain you to say that too? I could tell.
Like I just feel icky. Like I'm wriggling in my seat. I can't keep still. Like, oh.
All right, let's move on to the contract, because if you've been listening to us for a while, you will know that you should never start work without a signed contract. Now, what if the potential client doesn't want to sign your contract? They want you to sign their contract.
This is not something that I have ever encountered, but I know virtual assistants that it has happened to. And I think probably if they all been legal.
I was just thinking that. I think they might be.
Yeah.
Oh, legal and HR.
Yes.
Legal and HR are the two examples.
Yes. Legal clients, HR clients. They're the ones that tend to say, not going to sign your one. How about you sign our one?
Yeah. I mean, and it makes sense, doesn't it? If you're a lawyer, you don't want to sign another lawyer's document that they've pulled together and now the virtual assistant is using, because that's going to be in favor of the virtual assistant. Now, if you're I was going to say, if you're a smart lawyer, okay, if you're a lawyer, regardless of your intelligence level, you're going to have this on your radar that you want it to be in your favor, in your terms. It makes sense that they are going to try to get you to sign theirs.
Sorry, any lawyers listening.
Lawyers aren't going to be listening to this podcast.
We know lawyers that do listen to this.
No.
We do. No. Remember, I read that email out to you last week from a lawyer who said that they'd listened to last week's episode.
I'm very sorry. You're all very smart. That's why you're lawyers. Can't get a law degree without being smart.
Oh, they're all smart. They're all smart.
So that makes sense. And it's up to you to figure out. I'm going to say something else very controversial. I'm really sorry for our lawyer listening.
Our lawyer, the one lawyer.
No, there's only one lawyer. We have a rule in my business that we will never, ever work with a barrister. Blanket rule. No matter how nice they are, no matter how desperate they are to work with us, blanket rule. I'm really sorry. We are not going to be the right fit for you.
Yeah, this is really funny, because we had a conversation about this exact kind of mainly your experiences with working for lawyers inside the members club, and it was literally the same week that one of our members had been approached by a lawyer to do some work for her. And so this conversation absolutely freaked this virtual assistant out. She was like, oh my God, but she seems so nice. And so she then actually went on and accepted the job. And apparently this lawyer is just lovely, and is just a dream to work for. So really worked out.
Yeah. So it's not specifically lawyers. It's not lawyers in general. It's barristers. And I'll tell you why. We don't work for barristers because the three times we have, slow learners, 3 times we have, yeah, every single one has ended very badly. So worked for them for ages, right at the end, goes very badly, has all the reasons why they are not going to pay the last bill. Because they fight in their day-to-day job. Everything is a fight, right? They're trying to get people out of things.
Well, they've been trained. They're highly trained fighters.
Yes.
That's what they've spent years learning how to verbally spar and win everything.
Yes, exactly. Yep. So that's why we don't work for them anymore. Anyway, so that is the kind of client who is going to want you to sign theirs. It's going to be in their favor. So be wary of that. It's in their favor. You will want to get that contract checked if you are thinking about compromising and signing their one. Make sure that you understand what you are signing. Never sign something you don't understand. Never, ever, ever.
Never, ever, ever, ever. Yes. So to go back to, because I think we just went off course with that barrister conversation. If you are in this position and you have got a client that wants you to sign their contract rather than yours, absolutely be open to the possibility of compromising and doing that. But as Jo said, make sure you've got a lawyer to look over that contract before you sign it.
And don't be afraid to negotiate on some of the clauses.
Yes.
Compare it to yours. What are the things that you want to negotiate with?
Yeah.
In HR, it makes sense as well. HR, they are going to think about you in terms of a subcontractor or a contractor to them, not as so much as a service provider, because that's their realm, right? The contractors. So they're probably going to get you to want to sign theirs as well. So again, compare them, see what you need to negotiate on, especially around the payment terms. What happens if they don't pay? What service plan they're on? Those kind of things. You want to make sure that they are reasonable and for you, your terms, and they are agreeing to those.
Yeah. And so just another friendly reminder there in terms of contracts, the part we would never compromise is anyone not wanting any contract to be in place. Like that no.
Yes.
Stand your ground.
Stand your ground on that. Okay, let's move into the kind of, you've had the clients come on and now you're working out like how you're actually going to work together, where you're going to work and the hours that you're going to work. All those phone calls that you might decide, should I stand my ground and not answer, or should I answer and compromise?
Yeah. Because if you've taken all our advice up until this point, you've been really clear with your clients as to when you are available to work for them. However, life happens, not just for us, but for our clients too. So sometimes they might have something that needs to be done urgently. They might have something that, oh, look, is there any chance you can get it to me by tomorrow morning, which would then mean you working a late night or working weekends. Look, we're all about boundaries and being boundary bosses. However, there would be the occasion where you could compromise on this.
Oh, this pains me.
This whole episode is painful, Jo. The whole bloody thing.
Very painful.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that the moment you answer your phone outside of office hours or answer that message or do that work and agree that one time, you've reset the expectation. It's up to you. Are you going to stand your ground? Are you going to compromise? And what is the long-term benefit of you doing something or not doing something right now? We've got to think about it in the long-term benefit to our business, right? In those kind of terms.
Yeah. And the relationship that you've got with your client, like really, oh, look, if you know that they're in a bind and this is going to benefit and kind of create a relationship that is then going to become long-term because you came through for them, that's a tempting reason to compromise. Another reason that you might be thinking about compromising that is a financial one. So if you could really do with the extra money that week, that month, Christmas is coming up. Okay, that's gonna buy the kids the Christmas present. So that's really, really tempting.
The important thing here is that communication, right? Look, letting them know, hey, I wouldn't normally do this, but on this one occasion, that kind of language where you are like letting them know what your expectations are for the future, and this is the one-off or a one-time thing.
Yeah, and if you've got a super robust contract in place, you might have a clause in there that talks specifically about last-minute jobs, out of office, out of hours jobs that requires a kind of a quick turnaround, urgent, out of hours fee. So that's an option too. That's definitely an option. Let's talk about location though. Now this is an interesting one. So because a lot of you go, well, I'm a virtual assistant, so I only work virtually. So why are you even talking about this?
Look, there is a trust that needs to be built between a potential client and a virtual assistant for them to go ahead. And sometimes a potential client just needs to see you face to face, look you in the eye, get comfortable, build that trust with you. And the way that they want to do that is by you coming and sitting with them and being in their office. It's possible that you might want to compromise on that and say, actually, to get this client across the line and to have it a long-term relationship, I am going to go in and I'm going to spend some time with them because I know that that's how I'm going to build the relationship and build that trust, and it's going to be a long-term benefit. And I am needing to bring the client on because I have financial obligations. Absolutely. It could be a time to compromise.
Yeah, this is not something that I have ever compromised on or will ever compromise, but I totally see why, for some virtual assistants in different circumstances than me would absolutely be open to that. Yeah, I'm sure there's definitely benefits. But for me, I personally came into this industry for the ultimate in freedom and flexibility. So having to regularly be with them in the office, that then does not fit in with the reason I've come in.
Yeah, it doesn't fit with your why, right? There's a clash there. It's something you're never going to compromise on. Yeah.
Oh no, I've just seen what this next on our list.
Yeah. This is going to be very painful for us as well, so bear with us.
I reckon this might be the most painful. This is more painful than pricing for me.
Why did we leave this at the end?
I don't know.
Okay, rolling over hours. You will know our stance on this is to never roll over hours.
Team no rollovers. Hashtag no rollovers.
Yeah.
But
however, this has come up recently as well for a virtual assistant who is just starting out. This is their very first client. For whatever reason, the client didn't use all of their hours. There was a substantial amount of hours still to be done. She didn't want to roll over. That was going to risk the whole relationship entirely. And that client was likely to leave. That would be a situation where I'm like, financial obligations.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, the work hasn't been done. I'm going to do the work and keep this client so that I can have them long term.
Yes, agreed. However, you make sure that you then fix whatever needs to be fixed between you and the client and you're on the same page so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah. Are they on a wrong service plan? Have you not communicated with them enough? Did you not talk about some projects that you could do when you had nothing else to do? Like what in the process could you do differently or fix now to make sure that it doesn't happen again? Because we don't want it to be a regular thing. We want to fix the problem.
Yeah. The other situation that you would allow rollovers to happen is if you've stuffed up along the way in terms of comms. You haven't been checking in, you haven't let them know that they've still got hours left, or you've left it too long and you've told them right at the end of the month where it's too late for them to then give you work so you can complete those hours. That would be the only other option. That's your stuff up. You need to step up and own it and figure it out.
Yeah, that is definitely the time to take responsibility for like looking inward to you. What have I done that has caused this unused hour situation, which means that I'm going to have to consider rolling over the hours? Like really take a look at what you've done, because too often we like to blame the client. Oh, well, you didn't give me the work, or like, oh, it's your fault. Because if you're finding yourself doing that, take a look at what you could have done differently, because often it's down to us and what we need to do and change.
Yes. All right, we've got one more thing we want to cover before wrapping up, and that is, would you ever compromise in the situation where a client is asking you to buy something on their behalf with your money, with your credit card?
Absolutely. And it depends.
It depends.
Right?
Yeah.
There are absolutely many times through the month that we will buy things on behalf of clients. We've got to think about it in terms of like, how much do you trust this client? How new is the client to being working with you? And what is the purchase and why? Why do you need to be the one to use your card and purchase it?
Yeah.
And if there's a good reason and you trust them, then absolutely. Sometimes it's part of like just making it easy and simple for the client. It's easier for you to do it, more simple, makes sense. I would compromise on that.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it before as well, and it has only been with clients that I trust. So, because we talk about that know, like, and trust. It works both ways. It's not just the client that knows, likes, and trusts you, but you need to know, like, and trust that client as well. So for clients that you've built that relationship, you've got no doubt in your mind that you're going to see that money come back to you, then absolutely do it. Look, this is on the list because this is potentially a red flag. If you are asked, if a virtual assistant is approached by a lead out of the blue that seems a bit dodgy, and it's the first thing that they're asking the virtual assistant to do. This is a common scam for virtual assistants to fall into, which is why we're talking about it.
Yes. There is no reason why a client should be asking you to buy something for them as the first task. Like massive.
No.
Waving in front of your face, red flag. Do not ignore. That is a scam. 100%, no doubt in my mind. A scam.
A billion% a scam. Like run for the hills.
Yeah.
Do not pass go with these leads.
Do you trust the client? Have they paid a bill before? Have you been working with them for a while? Absolute. And there's a good reason why it makes sense for you to make the purchase.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Go for it. Oh,
wow.
This has been painful to talk about, Jo.
Very. It's the most like moving around and like, and pausing we have ever been on a podcast episode.
My hands have like been clenched down here. Like I'm just like, this is just so painful. But it's really important that we do talk about it, because as we said right at the beginning, it's not always black and white. We're all on our different journeys. We're all at different points in our business. Some of us need clients, some of us don't. Some of us are just starting out. Some of us have been doing it forever. So it really depends. There isn't just one way.
Yeah. So if you listen to all the podcast episodes, you've got to this point and you're like, I know exactly what to do in every single situation. You actually don't, because there is always There always a depends, and there's always, like you say, Sam, depends where you are on your journey, and there's always a decision to be made in everything that you do. Are you going to stand your ground, or is this actually, does it make more sense? Is it going to benefit you long term if you compromise? Thanks for listening to this episode of the Sam and Joe VA Show. If you'd like to find out more, head to the VA Foundry website to check out the Members Club and the amazing resources, training, and coaching.
You can find us at thevafoundry.com.